Paying attention to local politics is challenging, at least it is for me. The recent New Mexico Black Leadership Council stream that featured candidates for the upcoming District 6 City Council race here in Albuquerque was a great source for getting more in-depth answers from the candidates on a variety of local issues. So this video highlights what stood out to me from that nearly 2-hour live stream and compresses it into less than 10 minutes. I try and have pros and cons listed for each candidate. It's not necessarily unbiased at all. If you want the video with less bias, there is the 2-hour live stream where they give their answers more fully. So voter registration and location information can be found in the description, as well as a link to that full stream from New Mexico Black Leadership Council. So hopefully you find this useful and get out and vote. Kristen Raven Green has a long history of community involvement, attending meetings at the neighborhood level with the city, starting efforts to do like neighborhood cleanups. I think that all is great and probably gives her a lot of insight as to how to operate if she were a city council member, to offer to communities what she has wanted as a community member. She also advocates for attention to be paid to the abandoned home problem that I've seen throughout the district. I have that in my neighborhood of Fair West, and I certainly would like to see more efforts towards getting that addressed. Whether the city, I don't exactly know what the plan is, but I think if we can interrupt this spiral that I've seen a number of homes go through, where they're vacant and then they have some problems and they get condemned and then they get broken into, and then like ACS and 911 and police get called out there from time to time, and it's a cycle of things and liens start building up. How do you incentivize people to come in there and fix that up and make it a more productive part of the neighborhoods? It was said that there's 13 to 1800 homes in that situation. It's not going to solve all our problems, but I think it could be like a two bird, one stone kind of effort. I'm coming up with cons as well. So one con that I would mention is I disagree on her position of hesitancy against having safe drug use consumption sites. I don't want them to stick around forever, but she mentioned wanting to focus on housing first, and I think housing will take a while to get online, and we have immediate needs for people to have places to use safely for themselves, as well as to protect everybody else from the needles that they might leave behind. Having needle drop-offs in parks didn't really work, and also it's kind of making it so that the person who has the sharp has to take it to the park. Are they going to use in the park or near the park, or hold on to it and then go to the park? Maybe just take the park mostly out of it and just have distributed sites where people can use, get connected with wraparound services, that sort of thing that other candidates have seen. So that's one area that I disagreed with her position. Abel Otero, first pro would be his history of having direct experience with homelessness, with drug use, and recovering from that. He's been clean for a number of years, and I believe that must influence his position on what he sees the government's role as being, providing effective services for getting clean and rebuilding your life in a different way. He mentions that junkies are not bad people, and I'm happy that he says that. I agree with that position strongly. Second pro, his advocacy for community policing, rebuilding the relationship between police and community by trying to have more constructive interactions that happen, and not just enforcement and the feeling of a lack of transparency. On the con side, I would say a lack of specificity over his plan to use vouchers and a surplus store from like an abandoned retail outlet to provide basic necessities. I don't know if he was advocating for vouchers that local businesses would be able to redeem to provide these basic needs like toothbrushes, floss, tampons, things like that, or if he's trying to get another supply chain created on the side. So it's like you go to Smith's if you have money, and you go to this other place if you're completely broke. I would hope that it would be more about like, let's make a neighborhood market and they can accept the vouchers, and the people with money and the people who are getting money from government subsidies, like these vouchers, if you will, could also go there and get access to the same products at the same place, less stealing, foster business. Is that what was meant? I just don't know. Jeff Hain advocates to bring attention to the differences on the east and the west side of San Mateo, making sure that the other city council members are aware of the differences and the need for extra attention and money. He advocates for safe consumption sites of drugs with services on site to help people who are struggling with addiction and many of the other issues that might come along with addiction. I agree with that. On the con side, his advocacy for bringing economic stability with extra police on site. I'm not sure exactly how he wants that to be implemented, but police sounded like a key component of that effort. And I would like to know how much emphasis is going to be put on having safe consumption sites distributed such that people can use and then get connected to services if they have nowhere to live. And what about the poverty aspect of not being able to afford basic necessities and therefore potentially stealing them? We can potentially drive some of the crime out with extra police presence. I don't really deny that, but it'll go somewhere else if we're not addressing the issues of addiction and poverty that are also fueling a lot of the problems. And he mentions addressing those, but the police presence got a lot of intensity in his conversation and makes me think that's where the majority of his efforts would go. I think some of the other candidates had better positions on how to address the crime. Nicole Rogers has a history of working for the city of Albuquerque and put emphasis on the fact that as a single mother, she's had to learn how to navigate the city. And I think she would use that to inform her position if she were elected into the city council position to help other people get connected to services. There was a strong emphasis from her with regards to helping people break the cycle of poverty and increasing their economic stability. Government can have a role in that position. Looking at poverty as a root cause in a lot of the issues that we're seeing in terms of economic blight and the crime in different parts of the district. There was mention of code enforcement and increased police involvement, but a greater emphasis was put on trying to help people get out of poverty as a way to uplift the entire district. And I found that very compelling. As a con, the details and the reality of getting a universal basic income pilot launched, I thought were not well defined. Tim Keller has been a proponent in the past. As far as I know, pilots have not happened here in Albuquerque. Why hasn't it happened, and what are the chances? What does it look like to move that from concept to reality? And how's that going to happen? How can that be tested so that we can see what are the unintended consequences, and hopefully, if it's successful, how do we replicate this and get other people on board?